Right.
Hello, Orange DAO.
There you go.
Hey, oranges, get in here.
Yeah, we see some oranges over there. Come and join us. Whoever is tired and wants to sit down, come and join us. You're gonna learn a couple things on the way. All right, so welcome everyone that's here. Welcome to our session. This session is about how Orange DAO has grown into a multi-million-dollar investment DAO and has built with the top Web3 builders in 6 months. So pretty crazy what they've been able to do. My name's Alejandro Garcia-Amaya. I'm the moderator for today. I lead partnerships for Constellation DAO. It's a community made for and by venture-backed Techstars alum. And I'm also the CEO and founder of AnswerByte. We help founders at startups close more deals with our AI sales enablement platform. So today I'm very excited to be able to have all of you here, but especially to have Ben, Ricardo, and Jessica to delve a bit deeper into Orange DAO and how they became what they've been able to accomplish. So pretty crazy stuff. Before I start, I want to ask everyone here, show of hands, who's in a DAO right now? Oh, wow. Nice.
Awesome.
Show of hands, who wants to be in a DAO? Okay. All right. Pretty cool. All right. So how about we start it off with a quick little intro, if you take a minute or two to introduce yourselves.
So, by the way, how many people here know what Orange DAO is? Okay, so I'll give you a quick explanation for those of you who don't. Orange DAO is a community of founders, experienced founders. The vast majority of us went through the YC program in one way, shape, or form. We also have a venture fund that has been actively investing in Web3 for the last year. We have a fellowship program for new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are entering Web3. And the DAO is actually building public goods from both technology as well as Web3 social infrastructure. And so Ricardo and I served together on the governance committee of the DAO. So we were responsible for making sure that things run smoothly in the DAO in terms of proposals, processes, onboarding, marketing, and things like that. And the framework, the DAO design and the architecture that Orange DAO uses came from my research and experience building DAOs. And so since then, I've become the CEO of a DAO platform company called Origami, which, if you were here just a few minutes ago, Collabland launched using our framework about a week ago and is now one of the largest DAOs in the world. And so we're very proud
awesome.
to do that. Yeah.
Excellent. So I'll give a quick background. As Ben mentioned, I was a member of the founding governing committee of the Orange DAO. I have 10 years of experience as a founder in Silicon Valley, venture-backed 10 million, 10 years building AI software, and 20 years building high-affinity successful communities. One of the latest is the Y Combinator alumni group, about 2,000 alumni, and also the top American, Latino, Latinas tech leaders in the United States, 65 members, 11 of which have exited for billions of dollars. And I'm also the founder of ILUMA, which Jessica will tell you a little bit more about.
Hi, I'm Jessica Taggart. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ILUMA. ILUMA is the GPT-powered superhuman of Web3 organizations. Our AI is layered on top of your organization's communication channels, platforms, to be able to extract the most exciting and relevant insights, data, metrics, knowledge that's being shared, so that you're able to have your team stay in sync and up to date with everything that's happening. I have 10 years of experience building AI product and running technical teams in Silicon Valley. I'm a second-time founder. Ricardo and I are co-founders. We have other co-founders also with ILUMA. We had a previous venture, and that's where we went through Y Combinator, raised $7 million, and we're building conversational AI. And ILUMA is a proud portfolio company of Orange DAO.
Awesome. All right. So, by the way, I have notes here. I'm not texting my mother or anything like that.
I can confirm that it's not his mom.
So, Ben, as one of the 3 GPs of the Orange Fund and one of the founders of the Orange DAO, can you tell us more about the inspiration behind the Orange DAO and what sets it apart from other DAOs?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three of us at the fund. Orion is one of my co-founders back there. Orange Fund is a $50 million early stage venture fund that works with Orange DAO. Two separate companies, two separate organizations, but we collaborate very closely together. The reason Orange Fund exists, all of the profits and returns from Orange DAO that belong to the GPs actually go to the treasury of the DAO. In other words, we are taking money that used to belong to investors, giving it to entrepreneurs, and letting the entrepreneurs decide how to fund the future. So if you think about how entrepreneurship and venture capital works today, 80% of the returns that are given to the investors go to the people, the private individuals or funds, and the remainder go to the GPs. If you could take some portion of that and reinvest and put it in entrepreneurial control, that is actually a massive advantage for all of us, because the next time we build companies, we have to deal less with investors and more with our peers. And I think that was the inspiration that drove us to build the DAO, to say, how do we build an entrepreneurial community, and how do we actually scale that? And in fact, myself and Origami actually helped start Constellation DAO. And so Constellation DAO uses the same framework as Orange DAO because of that reason, because we believe in the same shared philosophy of funding more entrepreneurs and giving them more access to capital.
Yeah. Origami and ILUMA, we use Constellation DAO uses both of you guys, so very cool.
Yeah, actually, so I think there's an underlying pattern that you'll see. 1,500 entrepreneurs at Orange DAO, several hundred at Constellation. The idea is that when you become a member of the DAO and you're able to join this ecosystem, you can sell into that community with a much faster rate of adoption.
Ricardo, since you have experience building high affinity communities over the past 20 years, what made you jump at the chance to be a founding governance committee member of the Orange DAO? And what are some of the interesting things you've learned with DAOs versus other communities that you've led?
Yeah, I think the big difference with high affinity successful communities, I guess the typical example of a non-DAO would be like your alumni, alma mater alumni organization, which is very centralized. I would say community ownership was the first thing that got me excited because I've been waiting for this for years. This is the missing ingredient in any high affinity community. Ownership is huge. So that's the first thing that got me really excited to jump and serve on the founding governance committee member of the Orange DAO. And then once we start being part of the DAO, I was learning a ton through the first year. And the decentralized aspect of it, it's huge. The autonomous aspect of it, for example, just here at ETH Denver, the last 4 hours yesterday and today, we have hosted 7 different events. And that's due to the decentralized and autonomous aspect of how DAOs operate. So that, when you have that, when you can move so fast, the growth happens. So I mean, it's incredible what you can achieve. So this decentralized and autonomous aspect, how you can actually collaborate within the DAO is brilliant. The third piece, it's how open communications are in a DAO. So if you join right now, let's say, I don't know, Google's huge, but let's probably like a 1,000 employee organization. It's very siloed in terms of communications, in terms of what drives you have access to. In a DAO, everything's open. All the teams are open. So you have so incredible amount of information that you can leverage. Me having 10 years of experience building AI software, it's like, oh my God, if you want powerful AI, give it a lot of data. And it can create an incredible level of information asymmetry for organizations and for professional careers of individuals. So from that, seeing how open it was the DAO, it led me to build ILUMA for Web3, which is bringing AI, the power. And now with GPT chat and OpenAI, people really understand more about what we were doing. We did this about a year ago in Web3, and we've been pioneering this stuff.
Thank you. Towards the end of the talk, we're going to be talking about best practices. So we'll get to that in terms of for those that do have DAOs and how do you increase engagement and all that good stuff. Jess, with your company ILUMA being a portfolio company of the Orange DAO, what sets Orange apart as an investor?
Sure.
And be careful, Ben is right next to you.
Yeah, I know, no pressure.
You guys already have the money, so you can say whatever you want.
So I think what sets Orange DAO apart as an investor is a lot of VCs out there talk the talk of value add, but very few actually come through. And Orange DAO is one that comes through because it's so founder friendly. And that's because of its unique DNA of being made up of 1,500 of the top founders in the world, having gone through Y Combinator, and also now some of the top builders in Web3. And so that just creates that alongside of its unique Web3 high growth mindset. I think just really it's that rising tide lifts all boats mentality. And so when you're a portfolio company of that, you really benefit from the Orange DAO, I think, in three main ways. First being, and this is speaking from my personal experience at ILUMA, one is product, so product sandboxing. One is network, investor relations, intros to customers, intros to talent. And then three being marketing, spin, marketing reach, and championship. So to talk a little bit more about the first one, product is really close to me. I run product at ILUMA, and it's been a really amazing testing ground for us to be able to spin out our most edge of ledge, really exciting features and products to the Orange DAO first. These are our peers who are incredible founders, builders themselves, and to get that level of feedback on our first kind of approach, MVPs spinning out, and then being able to take that and beta that out to the rest of our beta clients we have 100 different communities, over 100 different communities now, Web3 organizations using ILUMA. We have over 200,000 users. And so it's really powerful to have the Orange DAO be kind of that first layer to be able to get that rich feedback from our peers. So we've done this in a few different ways. So one of the features that we launched last year, now everyone, of course, is very familiar with ChatGPT. We launched our version of ChatGPT for your organization last year with Orange DAO. They were able to benefit from it from obviously building a generative knowledge base for their organization. We were able to early test a lot of those features to perfect it and roll it out to other beta clients. We've also done this for our TLDR summaries, which are short bulleted form of long form content. This could be call recording summaries, this could be documentation on Notion, articles, etc. We're able to roll that out first for the Orange DAO. They could use that to leverage for those who couldn't attend their town halls, or long form content that they wanted to make sure people were able to grab those great insights, nuggets, use that from ILUMA. And so those are just two use cases in product that we've been able to also, I think, have a very mutually beneficial relationship with the Orange DAO. Another example of that, what I mentioned, is the network. So not surprisingly, 1,500 of the top founders having a great, rich network is not surprising, individual or collectively, but it's their willingness and their proactive approach to intros to investors, intros to potential customers for pipeline, intros to talent. And we've seen that personally in ILUMA. For example, we raised our pre-seed last year of $2 million. We're just heading out on our seed round. We just kicked off the round a few weeks ago, and we have almost the round half closed and committed thanks to warm intros from the Orange DAO. So that's unbelievable. And then third, it's the championship. So Orange DAO is a huge champion of its portfolio companies, and that helps us all with marketing reach and getting in front of new customers. An example of this, also anecdotal from ILUMA, is there was a discussion a few weeks ago on Twitter, relatively chatty, about the top products in AI for DAOs, and Orange DAO very graciously threw our name kind of into the ring, and it put us in front of a much larger audience, a much larger reach for us. So that's been unbelievable. And I think it's, those are the three that really have had the most impact on ILUMA. There's a lot of other initiatives that they do in terms of IRLs, hackathons, meetups, sponsorships. But again, it all speaks to that amazing flywheel that they've created thanks to that awesome community of founders, builder approach, and the Hive growth mindset.
Thank you. The summary of conversations that happen within a DAO coming from Constellation DAO is priceless. That's been really helpful.
Awesome.
Really helpful. All right, Ben, I know many DAOs struggle getting off the ground in terms of setting up legal and operational structures. Could you speak more on that process with Orange DAO?
Yeah, so Orange DAO was the first to use the framework that I've been designing. So it took a lot more effort to actually get it through the door. So, six-figure legal bills, the typical kind of understanding what the landscape looks like. Orange DAO had to go through that first, and now subsequently every other DAO is able to go through that process in a fraction of that time, right? Once you trailblaze that path, others can follow fast. Same thing that happened with Collabland. When we launched Collabland, it was using a cooperative legal framework that allows them to issue legally allowed securities. So that's a big pioneering moment for all of us. And now that Collabland's done it, it's going to be much easier for somebody else to go through that process. So having to go through and talk to lawyers, but understanding how you can turn that into a product is very important. Because otherwise, you're stuck talking to lawyers and having to make decisions and taking on risk by yourself. What we're trying to do is aggregate all of the best practices, all of the knowledge that we've earned by going through and launching, so that we can make them available to other DAOs so they can choose how to make their decisions. So I'll give you some insight. Collabland has almost 50,000 DAO members on our platform today, one of the largest DAOs in the world. 80+% of them are using their email address to sign up to the DAO. So when you think about what Web3 stands for and the future we want to live in, that doesn't actually jive with the fact that people still live in Web2 today. And so how do you close that gap? You have to go where the users are, right? You have to go listen to the users, and that's what we get trained on as entrepreneurs. And that always holds true regardless of you're building a DAO or a startup or some technology.
Yep. Ricardo. Thank you, Ben. Ricardo, with such a large group of YC alum founders, over 1,500 in the DAO, how do you think about governance?
Yeah, I think with the type of group that we have of Y Combinator alumni founders, one of the cool things that I was thinking going through it is how can you work together? Because we've known each other as alumni the same way that you know alumni of your alma mater, right? Like, yeah, we hang out with each other. Right. But how it's going to be that relationship working with each other towards something bigger than ourselves, bigger than creating something bigger than ourselves, bigger than our companies that would last 100 years. And that was something really incredible going through the experience of how founders that are usually choose to be founders, anybody who knows founders or are founders know what I'm talking about here. We chose to be founders because we kind of like to do what we want, when we want, however we want it, whenever we want, right? It's extremely freaking selfish. And no one gives us a job because of that, so we have no choice.
We're unemployable, is what you're trying to say.
Institutional unemployment, that's what it's called. And so how does that work with 1,500 of them, right, or us? That was super interesting, and I think it came down to trust and admiration for everyone's domain expertise. We would like to know, just by virtue of being old, you get good at certain things. Experts, can we? And I just point to him. I'm excluding myself from that. And we have all domain expertise, and we just, like everybody else, we're not experts in everything. We're experts in certain areas. But then you meet these incredible other founders with domain expertise in different areas, and it's just like, oh, this is how we work together, right? It's mutual admiration. So from a governance perspective, that has been incredible. It's like, how do you activate this many experts across domains? That has been the biggest piece, kind of very macro, looking it down, and specifically at this affinity group.
I would actually add this thing. So when we were working on governance together, one of the things that we realized was that DAOs, by the nature of the peer-to-peer structure of it, in other words, no one is a senior or junior at the membership level, you end up in a lot of impasses or uncertainty around who's supposed to make the decision. And so what we've done is to go through and give authority and power to specific roles in the DAO. So if you serve on the Treasury Committee, you have specific powers and roles, and it's defined in the charter of the DAO, which is part of the origami framework. Whoever takes on that role now receives that authority to execute those responsibilities. And so you can work on a document or a design or a process instead of arguing with one another. And so putting documentation and processes in and to declare that as a standard makes it much easier for you to keep evolving the DAO moving forward instead of going, oh, fucking Ricardo hated that idea.
And that actually leads us to best practices. And so I want to be able to cover best practices, experience so far for the DAO. I'm going to mention a few keywords and would love if either one of you can jump in and explain what they are. So first one is quadratic voting.
Quadratic voting is a means of reducing the influence of large token holders in your ecosystem. So if Alejandro has 1,000,000 tokens and I've got 1,000, I know that there's no way I can beat him in any vote if he goes against me. But quadratic voting actually would discount his voting power from 1,000,000 to something like 500,000, where my voting power now gets increased. And so I can group 10 people together, and because there's some amount of tokens that will rival his influence, quadratic voting can even out the score between the whales and the fishes. There are many drawbacks to it, but we can go into that later.
Quick voting.
Yeah, quick voting. At the beginning, we encountered some challenges, like many DAOs at the beginning, trying to figure out what do you draw a proposal for, and how many people, how many cooks in the kitchen, and like how many votes and the budgets, etc. So we did a couple of things that Ben would probably mention, like t-shirt sizing, like budgeting has been huge. But we made it so you can streamline some of the things that do not require huge budgets really fast, even voting in town during town hall, etc. So that's an example. How do you expedite things that are not require huge budgets really fast, so they don't get stuck in like a 4-week proposal process?
You mentioned t-shirt sizing. Can you go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, so if you think about how people are compensated in the DAO, you can compensate anyone between 1 token or a fraction, a 16th digit number token to an infinite number of tokens. So that huge gradient of potential reward makes everything into a negotiation. I'm going to move this chair. How many tokens am I going to get? 3, 4, 5? That is absolute bullshit. Don't waste your time with this. So what we did was we created different tiers of compensation. And so you get 5,000 tokens for serving in a role, 10,000, 20,000. And so depending on your commitment to the DAO, you'll receive a set of tokens for that season. So I'm not constantly going back to someone going, I'm going to do work X, I'm going to need 100 tokens. It's your role to cover this area. And so that reducing the overhead and the burden of management, because management does not exist in a DAO the same way you think in a company, reducing that burden of management is critical in helping scale that organization. So t-shirt sizes basically make that simpler.
I love that. That's really cool. Expanding responsibility.
Yeah, I think a good example of that would be I think we saw very successfully working the fact that at the beginning, Treasury held the single wallet, and so everybody's getting paid at the end of the season, and it seems like everyone's kind of waiting for Treasury to get like your paycheck or something, and it doesn't work out. It's kind of depressing. So, so the evolution of that is, how do we empower not only the committees but teams with their own wallets? And a byproduct of that is that it not only makes it easier for Treasury, but it empowers people when they're in charge of themselves approving, 3-signature, multi-sig signatures, multi-sig wallets, etc. It gets them involved in the process and of even disbursing their own pre-approved budgets, etc. But the buy-in is huge, and we saw that working really well. So there's more autonomy, things happen after, and decentralizes the whole payment structure of it.
I don't know if, do we have, yeah, we're done. Okay, so for anyone that has any questions, feel free to find us over here. Anything about a DAO or whatever you want, we're over here.
And I think is Pando DAO up next after this? Who's up? Okay. Pando, where are you at?
Woo! All right.
All right. I'm going to steal your thunder for a second. Origami has been working with Pando DAO since day one. We're so proud. It's totally coincidental that we've been here on 3 stages in a row. And as a founder, with my team over there, thank you so much. And these guys are great. Thank you, Ricardo and ILUMA and Orange DAO. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.